Welcome students to this new tutorial on mating system. It is a part of the broad heading reproductive behavior and also will be the continuation of the last tutorial on the evolution of sex. In simple, the mating system is pattern of male and female pairing. This term, that is mating system, captures the broad sweep of reproductive biology, including the nature of gametes, which I've already discussed in my previous tutorial on evolution of sex. Then we have the location of the mates, the patterns of male and female pairing, and behavioral strategies for individuals to attain reproductive success. In short, I can say mating systems are all the dimensions of sexual reproduction, and hence this is why it is the major focus of study in animal behavior today. The understanding of mating system starts with the underlying asymmetry between the males and the females, which is defined as sex, which I had already elaborated in my previous lecture. Now again, coming to the very important aspect of mating system is choosing the member of right species. Genes are different in each species. Hence, interspecific breeding or mating between animals of different species bring wide different genes together. This may disturb the delicate growth patterns. Mating with different species may result in hybrid or in zygotic mortality, or also in hybrids which are inviable or infertile. These reasons has led to the difference between patterns of different species so that each individual can recognize their own species. We shall look into the details in a more detailed way in the next discussion on the courtship behavior in animals. Now again, looking into another important aspect of sexual selection and its important role in the mating system. Darwin argued for two kinds of selection. One, the natural selection, and the second one, the sexual selection. Sexual selection, which is again divided into intersexual selection and intrasexual selection, where intersexual selection is the mating preferences of one sex on the characteristics of the another sex, and intersexual selection is the effects of competition within a sex for a suitable mate. Darwin did not use these terms, but he did suggest it indirectly to its existence or these phenomenon in his book The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex. Intersexual selection can result in the emphasis of features that attracts male or female that attracts a male. Examples of which are very much promiscuous in coloration and vocalization, as seen in a peacock's tail. Again, intrasexual selection may also yield features like horns and antlers of deers, which are used in intrasexual combat. Sometimes outcomes of intersexual selection and intrasexual selection can both act on a trait. For example, the antlers of the red deer serve in both combat, that is intrasexual, and female choice among males, that is intersexual. Hence, this kind of sexual selected or selective traits may be also favored by natural selection, leading to sexual dimorphism or different morphs or appearances for males and females. As seen, very much pronounced in birds, example the bright and extravagant peacock tail to the dull peahen, or birds of paradise, which we shall elaborate while studying the courtship behavior. Again, the question may arise like, to what extent will the natural selection may favor sexual selection? Answering this question, natural selection can limit the power of sexual selection, especially in case of a runaway sexual selection. Runaway sexual selection refers to the circumstances in which intersexual preferences is so consistent that the selection on the trait produces an extreme form. The example of which are seen here: the male earwig with the large forceps which are used during mating, and a male bighorn sheep which is used in combat. If the females persist in choosing males with the largest tail feathers, then we may see extreme result or expression in the form of very large tail feathers past a point where this gigantic tail may be detrimental, where there are many predators in the vicinity. Now, the natural selection comes into play and it curbs the excess of runaway selection. These runaway traits make very honest signals with high dependability. Hence, this sexual selective trait reinforces its use in the mate choice. Now, coming into something which is known as the handicap principle. Now, again, elaborating the runaway selection in which mate's choice is made of extreme expression of characteristics, then what will happen to the animal carrying this overexpressed trait? Will the sexually selected trait actually be a handicap for the animals carrying it? Then it may extract a price of energy or vulnerability to the predation. In this case, the sexually selected trait, such as a huge antlers, becomes an honest advertisement of the male's ability to carry the handicap. Then, if one sex consistently chooses males with the extravagant decoration, such as the peacock's tail, the cost of producing the decoration can become very high. The ornament may be metabolically costly to produce and difficult to carry, which is very analogous to a warrior or a soldier wearing heavy bulletproof suit all over his body to stray a bullet. But in return, due to this heavy suit all over his body, making him very slow and sluggish, hence increasing his vulnerability to the enemy. Again, hence ornaments may also put an animal to the risk of predation by making them more conspicuous or making it more awkwardly. The ability of an animal to pay this cost may be then an honest measure of that animal's metabolic and physical ability. It is the honest because the animal cannot pretend to play the costs. They are real. This is the handicap principle which was developed by Jahavi in the mid 1970s. Hence, what we infer here in runaway selection can be ultimately be limited by natural selection, and also natural selection in return defines the cost of the handicap. Now, coming to the mate choice. Till here we have understood the directionality of sexual selection. in which how the natural selection favors the natural selective traits, which are an outcome of sexual selection. Here we now again discuss on how the potential mates are chosen and what are the principal guidelines to the mate choice. So, the animals choose mate based mainly on 3 points. Okay, 1. What does the potential mate possess? What does he have? Such as territory, which I think you have studied while studying the foraging behavior of animals. Now, the second point, the genetic quality of the potential mate. As you discussed in the previous slides, where the handicap becomes an honest signal to the male's metabolic and physical ability. In short, he is strong genetically, hence, he may fight predators or even avoid the parasites. Third point, the nutritional offering by the potential mate, such as nuptial gifts. Okay. However, all these factors reduce to something which is known as genes. For instance, an animal cannot hold a territory if it does not have the genes to make it very strong to do so. Okay. Again, the mate choice can be differentiated into various forms. For example, the female mating choice. In female mate choice, the most species, the females, especially the females, are more choosy when mate choice is concerned. This choosiness is because females invest more in their gametes and parental care, which we have discussed in the previous tutorial on the evolution of sex. Now the question may arise, what effect does female mate choice have on males? So, any trait that is preferred by the females will be strongly favored, which means this type of selection, called this sexual selection, explains the elaborate ornamentation of males or of many species. For example, peacock's tail. Also, the females may choose a male on the likelihood that the chosen male will enhance the survivability of the offsprings. This means if the males have the so-called good genes. Finally, some female animals are known to also copy other female choices. However, males also do it. Another prediction on mate choice states that females should prefer to mate with males that will father sons. Okay, that will be attractive to females in the next generation, which at the end is all leading to the propagation of one's genes. In other words, the fitness of the animal. Now, the second one, which is the male mate choice. The male mate choice is less documented than female mate choice. Male mate choice is likely to appear when the male has substantial involvement in the parental care. Close observation of hyenas revealed that high-ranking males associated more closely with the high-ranking females and exhibited mate choice. So, coming to that point, mating system, how many males and how many females? For several decades, behavioral biologists and ethologists thought the key to understanding mating system lay in documenting the number of males and females in a group of a mating system. Here, we discuss on the different possibilities for male and female bonds and discuss on the evolutionary dynamics that led to each type of mating system. The first on the discussion here is monogamy. Monogamy is basically derived from two words where monos meaning once and gamous meaning marriage. This kind of pairing of a single male with a single female is very much common in birds but rare in most of the other animals. In theory, monogamous pairing ensures both of the mates will contribute to care of their offsprings and also for their mutual defense. Monogamy may evolve when the cost of acquiring mates is very high, where the females have the ability to restrict mate behavior or when the offspring's survival requires more intensive care. The major cost of true monogamy is that their entire reproductive investment of an individual depends on the fitness of the mate. When choosing an appropriate mate could have inappropriate mate could have a catastrophic fitness cost to the animal. Again, we can have animal societies in which pairs mate only with one another during a season. Okay, but in subsequent years finds new mates, which is often called serial monogamy, which is very much common in the territorial animals. True monogamy, where a male and a female will mate only with one another during the entire lifespan, or more precise way of saying, the lifespan of the individual till that dies the earliest. Okay, this kind of example of lifetime monogamy is seen in case of old field mouse, okay, known as Periomycus polionotus, okay, where data of 500 old field mouse burrows in which it was found that 90% of the offsprings in a family group were fathered by male which was in the burrow. It was also observed that many females remained with the same mates across litters, suggesting a long-term monogamy. Coming to the second type of mating system, which is the polygamous mating system. Polygamy, as the word suggests, poly meaning many and gamous meaning marriage. Polygamy is defined as the mating system in which either males or females have more than one mate during a given breeding season or a breeding cycle. Again, polygamy includes polygyny, in which male mates with more than one female per breeding season, and polyandry, in which females mate with more than one male per breeding season. Coming to polygyny, which means many females, it is an association of one male with many females. The most common mating system in case of mammals. Also, a few birds, insects, and other mammals can have this kind of a mating system. The study of polygynous mating system focuses on male-male competition prior to mating, which is sometimes called pre-copulatory competition. In if female mates with more than one male within a short time, the male will again compete, and its competition extends to the competition within the sperms. There are several types of polygyny. The two most common are as follows. Number one, groups of females centered around resources, or a male that holds these resources. Number two is membership in harem, or a defended group of females. The first type of polygyny, which is also called the resource defense polygyny, which occurs when male territoriality centers on a resource needed for breeding success. This territoriality can also be called resource holding power, or the ability of an animal to retain a resource in the face of competition. An interesting point is that animals often are better able to hold onto a resource that they already possess than they are to take a resource from another animal, even if the relative strength or size is equal. This competition can be intense, especially on better territories. A female may find that her potential reproduction is greater if she chooses a male on a higher quality territory, even if the male already has a mate, then it would be in a less quality territory. Because male male competition is central to resource defense polygyny, it would not be surprising if a greater size male have an advantage in the contest in neutral areas. The second type of polygyny is harems, or female defense polygyny. If females are clustered around a resource, then males may compete to monopolize that group of females. This type of polygyny puts the emphasis on male male competition and minimizes the role of mate choice, either by male or females. In other cases, a band of herd or a herd of females is not associated with any resources but may have aggregated for other reasons, such as defense against predators. Regardless of the reason for the aggregation, the group itself becomes the focal point of competition among males. Because a female's movement is not limited by a male's hold on valuable resources, and her evaluation of those resources or that male, that is direct male dominance of females themselves come into play. Competition among females within a polygynous group is also potentially important and may be reflected by the pecking order among the females. For instance, in domestic cows, priority of entrance through the gate or the stable door is a reflection of the dominance in the herd. The best known dominance hierarchies among females, such as those in the flocks of domestic hen, are linear, meaning that each individual's rank can be easily determined by observation. Again, we have something known as lakes in polygyny. A lake is an aggregation of males, each seeking to attract a mate and each displaying excessively to do so. Lakes are not associated with resources such as food, water, or shelter. However, conventional wisdom holds that males sacrifice their needs for food, water, and shelter by being near to their competitors, because the lake attracts more females than isolated males do. Lakes may be aggregation of males around a particular attractive male hotshots or aggregation of males in a location in the landscape that females are likely to travel near, or also known as hotspots. Now we have polyandry. Now polyandry is just the reverse of polygyny, where one female mates with many males. This type of polygamy is very rare. Also, there are very few cases of resource defense polyandry in which female is territorial and males coexist on her territory. This happens in American jacanas and spotted sandpipers. Cooperative polyandry is also seen in case of Galapagos hawk, where females have several mates and cooperate with them to raise the brood. An example of polyandry is also seen in case of honeybees, in which a queen can mate with up to 10 to 20 males. Now we shall discuss on the last type of mating system, which is also called as promiscuous mating system, sometimes also called as polygynandry and promiscuity, but here we shall discuss it as only promiscuous mating system, where polyandry and polygyny are occurring in the same population at the same time in a breeding system. It is said to be promiscuous. There are two different kinds of promiscuity which vary dramatically as a function of the presence or absence of pair bonds between the mating individuals. In number one, the first one, promiscuity might occur in species that live in completely unpredictable environments. That is, environments in which it is impossible to judge which mate might carry genes that would be good to the next generation. The second one is another factor favoring promiscuity would be the inability of any animal to hold a territory and monopolize access to its critical resources. In other words, promiscuity is expected where choice becomes unlikely and impossible. In one form of promiscuity, both males and females mate with many partners and no pair bonds are formed. It's very important to mention here that no pair bonds are formed. For example, a male may defend a territory that contains food, and females may visit such territories to obtain food, mate with the male, and then repeat this sequence many times. Promiscuity need not be tied to male territoriality. In many primate species, when females are in estrus or in heat, both males and females mate repeatedly, often in rapid succession, with many opposite sex partners. For example, during the estrus period, female Barbary macaques search for new male mating partners after each copulation. At the same time, this pattern of female behavior results in males have numerous female sexual partners, producing a promiscuous breeding system. In the second type of promiscuous breeding system, polygynandry, which means several males form pair bonds with several females simultaneously. Remember, in the first we had discussed that there is no pair bond formed in promiscuity, but here in polygynandry there are many pair bonds with several females simultaneously. For example, in the Dunnock, pairs of males will often jointly defend the territories of a pair of females. Nick Davis has studied the Donnock mating system and the help provided by the males to the females was observed, in which one of the males from both or from neither of them, but that on an average polygynandrous females receive the equivalent help that a female with only one single mate would receive. The more help a polygynandrous female received, the higher the mean nesting weight of the chicks in the brood and lower the chick mortality rate due to starvation.